did it again. Howdy chaps, and welcome back to another fantastic episode. If your eyes are not deceiving you, you are in fact looking at a Ford on my channel. Not a Holden and not a tank. That's right people, I have actually been reading the comments, and I do that from time to time, quite often actually, and I have been hearing your cries, and I have happened to end up purchasing a new project car for the channel. Hopefully this time I don't have to sell this one to fund a much larger green object which is actually behind the camera. So this one, as long as another tank doesn't pop up, we shouldn't have to part with it. Who knows? Can't predict the future. However, I bought myself an XW Fairmont, and the other car with it is outside. I actually bought an XY Fairmont, but that was for parts because it is so rusty that I'm amazed we were able to move it without it breaking into two pieces. So currently you're looking at it after several hours of tinkering. This is actually sort of towards the end of the video, it'll make more sense, but sometimes with the noise around the neighbourhood I have to do intros when I can, and I'm doing one right now while it's dead quiet and it's easy. So let's run you through it. I was scrolling the interwebs one night and there was an MGS Auctions, so it's Mason Gray and Strange. They're a mob somewhere in Adelaide. They were doing an auction just down the road in O'Sullivan's Beach, and in that auction was a mountain of Holden gear, absolutely tons of stuff. And I did actually buy another radiator for an EJ for $30. And in the auction, right at the end, was 3 Falcons of this shape. There was 2 XW Fairmonts and 1 XY Fairmont. And I'll give it to you this, they most certainly look like scrap metal, and this still looks a little bit like scrap metal, but this is the best of the lot. I stumbled down there, strolled down there with the old boy, la 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 la, and we went, hello, what's all this then? And I spotted this car, it was sitting on its guts, and I'll throw in some photos now. Sitting on its guts, no wheels, full of junk, no doors, no panels, nothing, except a guard. And me and my pals of observation, old Four Eyes here, decided that this car was quite salvageable. The red car may have been salvageable prior to the old forklift through the windscreen trick. That finished it off. It's bad, and you'll see in the video coming up. But I decided that this one was quite salvageable. I've actually fixed worse cars than this. Yes, its roof was crushed. I suspect the pair of them were in a wrecking yard together, and I actually reckon the red one was on top of this one. So the other one had the forklift through the roof, which utterly stuffed it, buggered it like you wouldn't believe. This one only had a car sitting on the roof. It must have been relatively gentle because I have actually managed to push the roof up frame-wise, and I've got a couple of roofs in the works, and as you saw with the XA, a roof is not that hard of a task to do. So there is an upside. This won't need as much as the other, as Peter's XA, because the actual frame of this roof is utterly rust-free. His one was buggered. This one only needs a skin and a couple of sections put in the back. So we're on to a winner. It needs some rust repair, but doesn't need mountains. This car also had a very complete engine bay and an engine that turned over, which I deemed to be interesting. I also noted both cars had their ID tags as well, which was, if you know these cars, those tags get stolen like somebody leaving a cookie out for Santa. That fat guy will just thief it, even if you were saving it for the next morning. I really do crack myself up. At least I'm laughing. Anyway, and the third car was an XW Fairmont that had the front cut off there, had a hole in the roof, more holes than you could ever fix. That one was toasted. It also didn't have its ID tag. So you were talking about a car with no front, which, if you know these cars, guess where the VIN number is, and didn't have its tag. So somewhere out there, that car lives. I think Peter Anderson said the other day, Ford made 400 GDHOs, there's only 4,000 of them left, or something along those lines. Yeah, so this car had its tag, its original number plate, its original engine. So this car is matching numbers, XW Fairmont. If you watch Meatball Garage, he actually has an XW Fairmont much nicer than this in the same colour. So if you want to know what it's going to look like, you'll have to just over there. But I noted that this car was worth saving. The XY, I was like, pretty buggered. However, it had the doors off this car on it. I was like, why would you put the doors on the crap car and not fix the good car? Anyway, a little bonus, I didn't know at the time, but after bidding and then picking up the car, I noticed that the XY had a complete and incredibly nice dashboard in it, with all the gauges and everything still in it. So I was like, winning, because somebody chopped the dash out of this one. And I don't know if you can see from back here, but the C-pillars have also had some bits chopped out of them. Also denoting that that didn't have any rust there, because somebody cut them out for rust sections. It's okay, they're in the other car, and I'll chop them out and then use them as a template to make new sections. So I'm not too worried about that. Now, I think it might be time to have a close look at the car. Alrighty, let's have a close look at this thing. Now, this video is gonna be a bit of a mess. I've actually lost a bit of skill with videoing, and when I used to start doing videos, I never had neighbours who were super noisy with radio, so it wasn't a problem with like noise. But this day and age, it's really difficult because YouTube and their wonderful copyright thingamabobs, if you have any music playing that has copyright in it, you can't have it in there at all. So that's why music in the background is painful to deal with. However, right, now this is at the end of the week. I'll put a bunch of photos in of the what they look like when I found them, and the picking up and removal process. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Right, so you got a bit of a gist of how they got here and how bad they are. So since then, I have put the front springs and shocks out of the XY in here because these ones are cut and shortened. They had like a coil cut out of them and they were all collapsed and stuff. And it was pretty low. Kind of looked cool. I can see why somebody did it, but it was just an impractical height. So let's start with the rust. Well, start with the roof. It's pretty bad, but it's only a skin. Weirdly enough, what really annoys the crap out of me is, ew, spider. There has been a lot of wildlife in this car. So this, although it is surface rusty, there's no rust, which makes that all the more sad. However, it does mean, well, it's actually got a gutter mold on it, except it's had a grinder run through it right about here. It does mean that I will be able to cut some sections out of this if I get another roof that might have rust in it. Look at the thickness of those discs. That was you can buy the 1mm cutting discs. This is an old chop. Yeah, so this is a bit of a bummer. However, it hasn't been too badly butchered. The other side's a bit worse. See, the inner frame's there. Somebody's definitely been chopping this out for rust repair sections. What really makes me sad is when this went to the wrecking yard in 2002, this car must have been almost rust-free. Because it's still good now. Like, look at that. There's most of the dog leg, the C pillar at the bottom. The B pillar's good there. It's good there. It's got a little bit there. You know, that's fairly normal. That's still good. That's good. That's good. Down there's good. That's solid. Although I do think the torque box has some rust in it. They don't normally survive rust-free. Most of the seal panel is there. Door's buggered, but you know, you get that on big jobs. Most of the wheel arch is good. Bottom of the quarter's gone. Surprise, surprise. I did see this and I was a bit sad by it, but you can buy this panel now, this whole corner and the channel, so it's not actually that big of a problem. Beautiful. It is wearing XY taillights, which it shouldn't. Bad car. I really actually much prefer the XW taillights. They're a much better looking taillight. But you can buy heaps of stuff, and when I started looking at this car and its closeness, I mean, look at this boot channel. There's not a drop of rust in that corner. All the way across here, perfect. Nothing in this one. There's a bit here. Most of it's perfect. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be like there, but I mean, I'm not worried about that. But look at this. The XY I did, a couple of years ago now. I had to replace all of that, all the way around. So the fact that, you know, bottom third of it is perfect. This quarter panel had white paint on it. I assume it was a primer. You can see some of it here. But, you know, me and my curiousness ran a buff over that and it all just came straight off. I was like, huh, obviously was adhered well. So I put the doors back on this that were on the other car. I'm pretty confident when I have to buy a new porta power, I need to push this that way a smidge on. It is not quite right. I think there's more weight on this side, and I reckon it's just a bit tweaked here. The roof, it might scare the crap out of most people, but it does not bother me. Now I filled it full of parts, unfortunately, but the back floors are perfect. Here, back, there is not a drop of rust in it. There is some at the seam there, and as you can see, the dashboard's been chopped out of it. However, over here is the dashboard that I took out of the other car, and I kept it all together because I don't know when I'm going to install it, but hello, amazing, even the switches are still there. And look, they're not even yellow, the gauge clusters. I'm like, who knows where this car's been. And then into the engine bay. Another thing that stunned me was, disc brake front end, Fairmont, still had the booster in it. I don't know how that wasn't stolen out of this car. The other one was stolen, or sold, or who knows what happened. The other one didn't have a booster. The other car still has disc brakes though. But this car has had, from factory, power boosted disc brakes. And I was like, yes! Because you need that if you want to put a V8 into them. So that's one thing I don't have to go hunting down. The front of this car has never been in an accident. There's not an iota of bend anywhere in the front of it. And yeah, there's a bit of rust in the firewall lip, but yeah, it's not much. And I did put the radiator and fan blade from the other car in here and the hoses. But aside from the radiator and hoses missing, everything else was here. So, you know, not too shabby. Alrighty, just had a slight phone call, so I had to cut it and join it, but here we go. This is where I'm going to lead you into the next, the next part of this video, which is all the stuff from before. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, things don't always play out the way you want to them when it comes to filming things. However, I hope you enjoy it. It shouldn't be terrible. Who knows? And I hope you enjoy the build of this car. You know, I have a moment where I think about that line in Star Wars. I don't know which one it is, but it's after Anakin Skywalker just realizes that he's come to the dark side or something like that, and he sits down and goes, "What have I done?" And that's pretty much where I'm thinking. Thought I'd do some light filming because I can't actually work on this during the week because of jobs, but I am periodically, just if Dad needs a bit of help, just help him with something minor and then go back to the work. But I thought I'd document this because probably by the time I do the video for the other car, this car will probably have been chopped up into little tiny pieces. Now it is actually an XW, no, scratch that. The X one, yeah, green one is an XW Fairmont. This is actually an XY Fairmont, but it is absolutely stuffed. It is bugging. There is no torque box. There is no torque box on the other side. This one is virtually nothing left of it. It is just stuffed every single spot on the car. However, if you know your old cars, you'll know that this car has lots of little bits and pieces in it, and it has a whole dash in it. So the dash is actually going to go into the other car because somebody chopped that out. I'm going to chop out these section here, even though they're not great, they are something to work from for the other car that's had them cut out. And this car's going to get stripped of its little odds and ends, take the front end out of it because it does have a disc brake front end, pull a few things off the motor, take the radiator out, bumper bar off, scrap the motor, strip it. The problem, yeah, well, you can see what one of the problems is. The whole, that's what's happened to it. But, you know, she's pretty stuffed. You wouldn't... I suppose you could fix it with the amount of stuff that's available, but God, it wouldn't be worth it. The amount of time and effort you'd have to put into making this hole. And it is buggered. Like, stuffed. The two cars have actually come out of a wrecking yard together. So the reason I bought that car is it's actually quite salvageable, despite looking at the roof. This car had all the parts from that car on it, so between the pair of them you could almost 80% complete one car. So that's what the plan is. Yeah, so pretty heavily stuffed. And the old forklift through the roof trick never does them any good. So it does have a fairly reasonable dash in it. Well, something to start from. It's definitely been in a wrecking yard. I don't exactly know where I'm going to slip this into the video, but I figured I better film some of this wonderfulness before Dad turns it into a pile of parts in close formation. And, you know, people go, "Oh, why'd you cut up that car?" It's dead, man. It's dead. This thing is dead. The least rustiest part of the car is maybe right there. Yeah, I just don't want to have anybody get any funny ideas that this car could have been saved. It is stuffed. And for a person who tends to fix some pretty bad stuff, for me to say that it's stuffed, it is stuffed. What torque box? All the sill panels are just bog. buggered. I'll probably have to throw the boot lid out, but I mean, for now it'll cover a hole. Yep, toasted. Hard to kick through bog when it's that thick. So yeah, pretty much the car is gonna go meet its maker. So yeah, I'll periodically cut it in when Dad's getting it a bit less and less and less, and obviously the beginning of this video will probably be something related to the other one, and we'll have a close look at that. But yeah, it's going to be a bit all over the shop like a mad woman's breakfast, this video. But I thought I'd show you this car and make sure that nobody has any ideas that it could be saved. It's not savable. Alright, you finding anything good? Anything? Oh, that's off the that's the blank off an auto or a clutch pedal.
There's nothing good to be found, I don't think.
Well, not in this car. You know that? Well, you know that horrible suspicion when the carpet might actually be structural. I wonder if that'll hold my weight. I doubt it. I was going to say, yeah, it's
The annoying thing, I have not found 1 cent.
Yeah, no, cars aren't even making us $1.
Not even, and neither car has got no money in it. So
well, judging by that, it's sort of going to go through the floor. You know, I thought this car was pretty religious. It's very holy. Well, I don't know how this is going to come out with the fan going and music next door, but your boy is making some spectacular progress with the death knell of this particular car. Oh, she's a mess. But I'll have to help him with this later in the day. I'm going to cut the dash out in one big piece. So if I run a blade neatly through here, I should better take the top off, and then I know for a fact that these dashes are welded just a little bit on the corners, and then I should better take all of it out in one big piece, and then cut some bits out of here, and that's probably all I'm going to take from this car. Oh, and the front springs and a few things, because the other car's got chopped springs in it. I know maybe one day it'll have a V8 into it, but for the short term, because I'm not going to build that other car immediately, because I've got other things, I will take the springs out of this to make the other one better, and then this car can be reduced to a more manageable size and scrapped. Still thinking about saving bits off it, like the plenum chamber isn't offensively bad. Motor is dead. Take the exhaust off it. Don't care too much about the steering or anything like that. I want to take the disc brakes off it. Not much else, I think. Maybe the diff eventually, but yeah, yeah. I'm going to take the boot springs out of it and a few things like that, but that's not much. There isn't a lot saving on this thing. But we're nearing the end. This XY Fairmont is nearing the end of its life. Well, you know, it runs. Having a bit of a moment. You wouldn't know it unless I showed you, or you wouldn't believe it unless I showed you. So down here, That is the neutral safety switch. It's plugged into that guy. On an automatic transmission, the gearbox needs to be in neutral or park for it to start. But on a manual gearbox, this is looped on each other. So I've just taken those off, looped them together, and taken my key over here. Battery's in, because, you know, I have a sense of humour. Look, no dash. So the almighty Stromberg is one of my favourite carburetors. I really think it is. So I've just taken the top off. So we've got some wildlife, but you know what? They're going to get a wild ride in a minute. So I'm going to fill the float bowl up and see if this little guy is going to live. Well, we know it's going to fire, but whether or not I've wet anything with the hosing, or whether or not it's going to explode after 2 seconds of actual running. Alrighty, you're taking this ride with me. Oopsies. Okay. Come on. Alright, let's see if I got the distributor wet, which I might have done. Alright, set the camera up so you guys can watch the disaster with me. Excuse me while I go turn that to a different spot on the flywheel. Alright, here we go for the 25th time. After this, I'm going to give up for the day and we'll tackle it again on the morrow. I've run out of petrol. I will admit, I could have sworn I heard a rod knock. And if it's dead, I don't actually care. Because I'm going to do this car up. Ooh, spider. Ah! dead now. Put him on a diet. He's real thin. I'm going to put the V8 into it that I've got sitting over there. So if this motor is kaput, I don't care. But that was the longest that's run for a while. I think the accelerator pump doesn't work. Yeah, that's probably Gibbs. Same spot. Every time. One, two. Classics. Don't hang on the starter motor forever and ever and ever. If it's not going to start, it's not going to start. Oh, I think there might be too much fuel down there. I don't know what that did. I'm just curious. Well, I might have to give up for the day and do this again on the morrow. I think it's flooded. It's flooded. We'll wait a couple of minutes. Or we can try it now. If you've seen Ace Ventura, you'll understand that line. Yeah. I don't know if this motor has a whole lot of life left in it. But it's okay. Everybody thought this car was scrap. And more than a few people said that motor will never run in a fit. Well, you saw it before. It did actually run. So, I'll put the battery on charge. Well, you know, I'm a bit of a determined person, if you couldn't already tell. I was like, oh, I'm going to check the spark plugs. I haven't checked anything. I haven't checked the oil, haven't checked the spark plugs, haven't done anything. About all I did was clean the points and put fuel down it. Oh, and I cleaned the battery terminals. But I was like, oh, I better check the spark plugs. And so if it was running on 3 of the 6 cylinders, I think possibly it could have been considered running. I have now cleaned all 6. Let's just say they say Motorcraft on them, so they've been in there for some time. I pulled them out and went, oh my god, how much work have you done? They have been in there for a long time. This is a 221 engine as well, so matching numbers. I don't have a dashboard, so I can't tell you how many Ks are on it, but a bazillion. So we're going to try again. Fueled up the carby, Clean the spark plugs. Battery's on charge, but it should have enough to kick her off. Let's see if it'll dance again. Not even getting a whiff. I reckon I might need to clean my points again. I think I can smell fuel, and the engine's not even going boom. So I think the points are filthy, or they've arced up or something. So I'm going to clean them now. Give them a whirl. That poor battery, or it's a starter motor, one of the two. I mean, this is the same battery that starts the radial, so I really don't think it's the battery. It might be that starter motor. Is like, you know, I thought I was done. I thought I was resting for the rest of my life. And what's this? I'm working again. Alright, I'll clean the points and try again, and then I'm gonna, I don't know, set fire to it, I don't know. See how it goes. Thought I'd show points for the younger fellas who actually have no idea. And if this is the older fellas, well then you can just block your ears and close your eyes and pretend that I don't know anything. But here's the points out of the thing. They're actually quite simple. They just open and close the circuit, and they do arc up occasionally. Now, I've already cleaned these once. These were pretty bad. But if you're going to try and start an old car that's been sitting in the bush for a long time, you can guarantee you will need to clean these. Now, as you can tell, they're not in great condition. I might file them again. Look, they've arced the snot out of themselves. So I'm going to file it again and then re-gap them. You can see that I filed all that junk out before, so maybe the condenser's dead. And I was thinking to myself before, you know, only God knows what this thing was doing the last time it was being driven. So the engine might have gone to the wrecking yard, and it was quite commonplace for these things. I remember witnessing it when I was but knee high to a grasshopper. They used to have like engine run kill days where they just get an engine from it, like get a car out of the yard and just flat foot it till it explodes. We don't know that that didn't happen to this. I found a brick on the accelerator of the other one, so I'm pretty sure that one died in that fashion. So who only knows? Because remember, this car came off the road in 2002. These cars were worthless. The muscle car boom didn't kick till about 2004. This car, when it came off the road, was worth nothing. Literally nothing. You probably couldn't even give it away. And there probably was plenty of them around. So they've probably, who knows, might have had a bit of fun with it before it ended up in the yard. So this engine might be completely, I was going to use a word that is not suitable for children's ears. This engine might be buggered. And I'm going to put a V8 into it, so this might be a bit of a win-lose situation. So we've seen it cough, but we haven't seen it run properly. But it might not, because of its past. I have noticed though, while I was talking, how good does the engine bay look without all the black all over it? Can't believe how much of that cleaned off. Well, we filed them as best we can. I'm starting to think there's not a lot of meat left on that. I mean, I might be wrong. Could keep going, but it ran like that before. I got this one completely out. So I'm going to stick them back in and see if it's going to live. We're literally running out of daylight, so we're starting to push the proverbial up a hill right now. So give me a couple of minutes and we'll see if it's going to live again. 7,000 times a charm. Right. Well, you know, the points had arced themselves out again. So, tomorrow when the battery's charged, there's a bit more daylight, we'll see if we can make it run longer than that. Alrighty, let's round out this video with it running for more than 8 seconds. I've got the fuel can in there, bit of fuel hose, filled up the carby, battery's charged. You're riding this with me, let's see what it'll do. Almost wouldn't believe it. I couldn't tell you how long this car has sat without its bonnet, but it rained like heavily a few days before the auction. That was exposed to the weather. All of this was. How is this possible? It's almost running well. I mean, I put water in the radiator, but I like that's gonna do anything. Because I'm like, I bet you that water pump is stuffed, and it is. It's absolutely pissing out there. But actually, note the extractors change colour when they get hot. We should get that rubber hose off there, actually.
It almost runs really well. Still a bit of water sitting on the inlet from yesterday when I pressure washed the whole engine bay. But that is just incredible. It's even got really good throttle response. I mean, yeah, I might have gone a bit hard on it for an engine that sat for 20 something years, but I mean, I don't really have any intention of using it, but it does appear to not be stuffed. Well, obviously it probably could do with the carby kit so it idles a bit better, and points and distributor cap and leads, but we're talking, you know, the normal stuff, and obviously maybe a water pump. I can hear some sizzling, sizzling, sizzling. Yeah, the water pump is toasted. Surprise, surprise. But I guess I don't really know. I guess I can round out the video now. I hope you've enjoyed this, what is probably going to be the better part of an hour-long episode on my latest purchase. Still got to chop up that little guy out there, but for a first part of this build, I don't think that was too bad. And this engine bay, I think I can just about, when it's go time, I could probably pull that out, sandblast the engine bay and paint it and do some minor rust repairs and put the V8 in. There's not actually that much to do in the front here. I did actually have this horrible thought. I mean, I need to get the connectors, they're like little straps that go on the tail shaft, to hold the tail shaft to the diff, because I haven't gotten them in either car. But I think you could actually drive this car, because I'm pretty damn sure the brakes work. They do have a pedal. So, you know, if you put a water pump and a few things in it, you could probably drive this car in its current condition. Because, I mean, one of the things that came in this car, or is it that car, one of them two, was about 6 or 7 tail shafts, all Falcon. So, I'm not short of tail shafts at the moment. Also, I did get this guard over here. I very nearly put it in the trailer for scrap, but it's an EB Falcon guard. That one there, not in great condition, a little dent in it, but I couldn't bear myself to scrap that. So if anybody needs a right hand front guard for an ED Falcon, or even EA, but I actually think EAs have a different indicator in them, pretty sure that's ED, sing out. And if you need any cuts off that, bear in mind, not a lot of it's good. So we'll wrap it up. Despite the dashboard looking like it does, The ignition barrel works. Incredible. Alright, I hope you liked it, and I'll see you next time, chaps.